How's it going, everybody? Savvier saying, what is good to all my Super Saiyan homies, here to bring you all sorts of Dragon Ball content. If you enjoy the video, make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. That being said, today we're going to be doing something quite different. My plan is to do a equipment guide for one of the best teams in the game, well, the best team in the game, arguably, androids. That is at least for today. My goal is I want to do this at least maybe once or twice a week. We'll pick a different team every week, maybe two, and we'll just go through the top core for that team, or the top five or top unit for each color. So like the top red, the top blue, the top yellow, top green, top purple. So yeah, that being said, the reason I want to do this is because I think I've kind of said it a couple of times. I even kind of mentioned it when I started doing post commentary. I want to try and move a little bit away from showcases and go back to being a resource like I originally intended. It kind of worked out that when I first started my Instagram, which is where I originally started, people just wanted to see showcases, and so that's what I ended up doing because that was what people wanted to see. That was the best resource I could be. People wanted to see the new units, and as a whale, that was the best resource I could offer. But I'm noticing nowadays that less and less people are watching my showcases, and more people are watching my top 10 videos, and I would really like to be able to do more playing off camera just because I'm getting really fatigued of trying to use interesting teams all the time. I'd really rather just run in with powerful opponent or with all Broly and just, kind of have fun. So this is my best attempt at being a resource. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. We're going to start with Android 18. I'm going to pause for a second. With editing magic, you guys will see, the first equip. So the first equip we are going to look at for her is Awakened Haya number 1. Now, what's going to be really good about this equip is that it's focusing on her main stat, and that is strike. And then in the middle slot, we've got 2 with ki recovery and blast defense. And then that last slot, we have either damage to hybrid Saiyans or Super Saiyans. Now, I would personally say that Super Saiyans is more valuable, but even if you roll a high hybrid Saiyan slot, we all know that that's going to be useful with characters like Gohan, Future Gohan, and the blue Trunks. So I think regardless, this is a really good equip, and it applies to all Android melee units. This is going to actually be useful for a multitude of units for the tag. Next up, we're going to look at I Won't Die, and this applies to every yellow unit in the game. It's got blast defense, special move damage, and then on the last slot, it's either strike attack or strike defense. So you either have a really strong double defense equip, or you have, a very nice, offensive one, especially for yellow units with blast armor. Like, I personally really love using this on my Gogeta Blue, but I personally use it on Android 18, and I definitely would recommend it. Next up, we've got What Does It Matter? And this is a pretty solid one for female androids. And what's solid about this is it's got blast defense, ki recovery, and strike attack, all of which are fairly high for the stat that it's offering. Ki recovery you don't really see go much higher than 12.5 for the most part. And then, having 16.5 for blast defense and 20 for strike attack just makes this a really solid equip. I run this on both her and Purple Android 21. So yeah, this is just a really solid equip for Android females. Next up, we have I'll Crush You. This is a really solid one because it provides a pure strike buff per Android tag or Android member. So I really like having this for both the blue 21, purple 21, and yellow 18. So I just think this is an overall really good equip to have. Again, it's a general Android equip. It's a strike damage. Also, if you're running the green 16, this is a really good equip just to have in general. So yeah, we'll move on to the next one, which will be the last one for 18, and we'll move on to our next unit. Next up, we have This Is Kaioken, which is a really solid equip for all melee units in the game. You've got either a double defense equip with, a small little boost to strike in the middle, or you have just strike defense with a really high buff to strike attack, going upwards of 30.5%, which is just absolutely nuclear for a single equip. So yeah, that's that. Let's move on to our next unit. Next up, we're going to look at the Purple 21. A lot of her equips are going to be similar to, similar to Yellow 18 because they do qualify a lot of the same ways. They're both melee types, they're both females, they're both androids. So again, a lot of the equips are going to be the same, but there's just a couple I would like to look at that specifically are going to be good for her. So since she's a regen melee type, she has access to this phenomenal equip right here. We've got blast defense, the middle slot has ult and special move, and then strike attack of a freaking astronomically high 21.5%. So this is a really solid equip for any melee regen type regen unit that you have. I really strongly recommend farming up this equip if you can. Lastly, we have Incarnation of Evil. This is very, very similar to the last one. This one works out, you know, for transforming warrior melee types, and it's just kind of like a light version. It's got blast defense at 18%, which is really, really good. Special move, and as opposed to special move and ult, she doesn't have an ult, so it's okay. You're not really losing out on anything. And then to strike attack at 20% rather than 21.5, but still really, really good. You know, you get a high roll on this, you get a high roll on that Blah equip, and then you get a high roll on the female android equip that we saw with 18 on it that has up to 20%. You can get upwards of like 60% on you know, her strike damage alone. So yeah, that's that. Let's move on to our next unit. Next up, we're going to look at Blue 21. She's kind of similar, where she's got some of the same equips again as you know, as the Purple 21, as the Yellow 18, because they're all female androids. But again, we've got a couple of unique equips for her that the other ones do not have. So let's look at those real quick. So we've got the Awakened Your Essence is Mine, and this is a really strong defensive equip, and it was a free farmed awakening. So I actually did farm a really solid copy of this. I actually have a perfect first slot one with the full 20%, which is crazy. But anywho, this just works out to be double defense across the board. You can get upwards of 30% on both stats, 32.5 to be exact. So this is just a solid defensive equip. I run this on all of my blue regen units. Like I especially run it on Kid Buu because he just needs the defense. Lastly, we'll look at I'm Young Again, which has a solid double defense, and then a pure strike buff based on whether you're with a purple or regen character on your party. And considering that androids regen, they're kind of all one and the same at this point, this is pretty easy to do. This only applies to blue regen units, but you know, for the most part, the blue regen units don't really do melee damage. This is actually really good for pretty much just her. So yeah, that's that. Let's move on to our next unit. Next up, we're going to look at Green Super 17. Now, I'm going to say this flat out. I think Green Super 17 has flat out replaced both 16 and 21, because he does provide that cover change, which was really the only thing that 21 was offering. I think she's the Squishmaster General, and I guess, yeah, she's got the Solar Flare, but still, I think his green card counters and his durability and the paralysis, all the disruption that he offers, just makes him a more valuable member of the core. So we're going to look at him as the top green. He's definitely got some different equips, especially considering that he has a multitude of different tags, such as GT and Fusion Warrior, so let's look at those real quick. First off, we have his Awaken equip, which gives him double offenses, health, and then defense based on the number of androids you're with in your battle team. This is a really solid equip, guys. I mean, double offense is always something great, and then having health plus blast defense, just a really, really solid equip overall altogether. And considering it's exclusive to him or androids from the movie, well, Android 17 that is, it's you know, it's pretty much a given that this is something that you should be running on him. Next up, we have the Awaken Energy Absorb number 1. Now, let's be real here. This equip is crazy because it's got blast attack to 25%, which is bananas. Base critical, base strike attack, and then damage to Super Saiyans or defense from Super Saiyans. Like, this equip just goes off because in reality, if you know, again, just the damage to Super Saiyans alone is an incredibly powerful thing in this meta. But, you know, if you're going to make it defense, that's even better. But just to have a purely offensive equip for this guy with the astronomical numbers that it has, especially considering that it has crit involved on it, for such a tanky unit that really could benefit from some buffed up damage, this is a really solid equip, I would say. Lastly, we're going to look at Becoming Super Saiyan, which applies to all Super Saiyan and Fusion Warrior characters. It's got the base strike defense, a blast attack of 20%, and then key recovery of up to 7%, which is not the highest it could be for key recovery, but you know, this is still a really solid equip. Again, 20% to blast attack is nothing to sneeze at, 15% to strike defense, and then key recovery is never a stat to be ashamed of. So there are a couple other equips that would actually work out pretty well for him as well, but I'm going to go over them for the general equips because they do fall into that general category. Let's look at our last unit on the team, and then we will look at the general equips like I just mentioned. Ending off the conversation, we have Transforming Reviving Cell. We're just going to hop into it with this guy. There's no reason to, you know, really kind of discuss a lot, but he does have some really good tags going for him. Definitely has some solid, unique equips. So let's look at those real quick. First up is the Awaken Don't You Agree, and this is basically made for him in the Zenkai Cell, and that's pretty much it, because it's made for, you know, the red androids. So yeah, he's got strike defense right here from it, 20%, special move 12.5, and then both offenses up to 18%. I don't think I have to go any further. Triple offensive, strike defense, which is always going to be a valuable defensive stat to have. I mean, even as long as you don't have blast armor, I would argue that strike defense is the more valuable stat to have. If you have blast armor, then blast defense is definitely the more valuable stat to have. But if you don't, this Cell does on his blue card, but it's after transformation, so I would say strike attack is probably still just as solid to have. Next up, we've got the Perfect Cell equip, which is pretty much the light version of the one we were just looking at. It's only got blast attack as opposed to blast attack and strike attack. And then it's only got, it's still only got strike defense, but then it's got special move over here. And then ult damage, which he doesn't necessarily benefit from, but it still works out pretty well. It's going to be doing basically the exact same thing as that last equip. And this is going to apply to only cells in the game, so it's only going to apply to the cell characters. As a future unit, he's got an excellent access to the Trunks Stay Back equip with the double defense and 18% to blast attack. Very, very solid equip, especially with 15% on both defenses. This is really just, it's just a solid equip for any of your, I think it's ranged future. Yeah, any ranged future unit is just a really solid equip. Another ranged future equip, we sacrificed the defense a little bit because we only have 13% to strike defense, but then again we see the lovely key recovery stat we keep talking about at that 12.5 that we've mentioned several times, and 20% to blast attack. So, it's going to be doing a solid amount of damage, a little bit of defense, and then, that lovely little chef's kiss of a key recovery buff. Next, we've got Beat It, which is very similar to the first future one that we looked at, the one with Future Gohan on it. The Stay Back Trunks. It's got the double defense and 20% to blast attack, so it's slightly higher on the blast attack, slightly lower on the defenses, and yeah, just overall a solid equip for any ranged regen unit that you're using. And lastly, providing to every red powerful opponent unit, we have Do It from Paragus, and it's got a pretty cool equip because we got the base critical right here, always a solid stat to have, and then we choose between strike attack or strike defense. Well, we don't choose, RNG chooses, and then 20% to blast attack. So you could either have a really strong double offense or you have strike defense, and then you just have crit sitting there in the back. Very, very strong equip. That does it for Red Cell. Let's look at a few general equips for the Android tag that'll apply to basically every one of these characters in some way, shape, or form. I actually forgot an honorable mention for Cell, and this could really apply to any ranged unit in the game. This is definitely one of the best equips in the game. The Hurry Up and Die, especially because Cell is on the equip. It's got base key recovery, special move, and blast attack all at very, very solid numbers. A little low on key recovery, little low on special move, but still very, very good regardless. 10%, 12%, 20%, all very respectable numbers. The first for our general equips goes to the I Will Crush You. And the reason I put this on general equips is because while it applies to every android, or while it does mainly apply for the strike attack buff, and it's got strike defense and blast defense, it does apply to every android. And a lot of the androids are strike based. And what's good about this is if you are running Android 16, this will apply to him as well. So you can apply this to 16, the blue and purple 21, and to 18. So that's 4 of the main units right there. So I think this is a really good general equip. Next up, we've got Dr. Giroux's computer. This equip is phenomenal. It's got so many different stats and applies to so many different tags in the game. Let's look at what they are. It's all girls, androids, and regen. Nothing specific like saying like melee, color, anything like that. Just girl, android, or regen. They can all use this equip. So this is a very versatile equip. It chooses at the start with RNG, whether it's going to be strike or blast, and then you've got both defenses in the middle, and then another choice at the end of blast and strike. So you can either have a very solid double offense and double defense equip, which is what my Z copy looks like, or you can have some really strong double strikes, some really strong double blast on that, which just works out for any of them. Like, for example, I have a couple of S's that work out that I have, 11% to blast up here, and then, 10% down here. So it works out to 21% to blast attack. And again, the same goes for strike attack. You have, 11 or 12 up here, you have 10 down here. It works out to 20-something%. It really ends up being a very solid equip. You can boast some really, really high numbers if you're focusing on just the one stat, or again, it works as a double offense and double defense equip with some very respectable numbers on both ends. And the last equip I want to mention in this video is the androids equip. It's just the general androids equip, and rightfully so, because it's got blast defense with you know, respectable 12.5, and then a pure strike defense buff based on the number of androids that you have. So that is perfect for this team. You're getting more strike buffs just because, you know, you're with other androids, and it's a pure buff. It's not base strike defense. It is just pure strike defense, which will always be the better buffs. Despite looking lower, you know, at 6%, you want pure buffs over, you know, these base buffs. So then at the bottom, you know, you have RNG's choice again of blast or strike attack with the... actually, I think this is wrong on DB Space because I believe strike attack can go to 16.5 and blast attack can only go to 15. I might be wrong though. I could definitely be incorrect on that. I may be thinking of another equip. But anyway, this does apply to all androids, like we said. Again, really solid all-around equip. I have a Z of both a blast copy and a strike copy. Just really solid to keep around because, again, it applies to all androids. So whichever version you have, it'll work out well for them. Double defense, and then whatever, you know, their primary offensive stat is. So yeah, that's that. I hope you guys found this to be helpful and enjoyable. Yeah, I like I said, I hope to do this again in the future, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Have a great one.